Welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk About It with Keola. And we are going to talk about today chapters in your life. You know, we go through different phases, and at different times we have different chapters. So I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Diamond. Let's welcome Diamond.
Hello.
So Diamond, you want to and thank you for joining me. You want to tell the audience how we know each other, a little bit about how to reach you on social media, and just anything you want to kind of start with.
Sure. So my name is Diamond Womaker. I am a realtor in the metro Atlanta area. I met Miss Keola through real estate. She has been a fabulous mentor. She has been here in the game for decades, and she has very much knowledge of the Atlanta area and just life in general. So I was happy to join her today on this podcast to talk about the chapters of our lives.
Well, thank you. So, chapters are something, that as I have learned, are different phases of your life. So tell me, what chapter would you say once you became an adult, what was that like for you? What was that chapter like from graduation to going to college to where you are?
So that's like a mouth load, but I would say 20s was challenging.
Okay.
I thought because once I got a degree, I got out of school, that everything was gonna fall into place. Like I worked all throughout my college years.
Okay.
So I've always had a job, but I went through a lot of triumphs in my 20s, which most people told me that it was great to go through your triumphs in your 20s, because once you get to an adult, you don't know how to deal with hard things in life. And say losing internships, losing, jobs that you thought that, hey, I could do this for the next 5 or 10 years. They have flexibility, they have this and that.
Right.
And I always went for something that I knew I would be stable in.
Okay.
And I was like, so I do accounting as well.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? When I figured out that corporate, it's some bad stuff in corporate. Like, I see why people do entrepreneurships. I see why so many hustles on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my plan B. Real estate is my plan B. And it's always something that I fell on.
Okay.
So 20s was just, I feel like that's when you struggle. They say that in the 30s you kind of find stability. So 20s, supposedly, I'm hoping. But I feel like I'm pretty stable. But 20s, I would say I've went through ups and downs, but I can say that I was very successful in my 20s.
Okay.
Even though I look back, I see the struggles, I see where I have grown.
Okay. So when you got out of college, your major was accounting, right?
Yes.
So did you find that they had you doing internships only to assume you were doing it for free and they weren't going to hire you, and so now you have to figure out, well, how am I going to get my real money?
No. So I was very less much of an ambitious person, so I've always, all my internships was paid. When you find out,
Really?
a bachelor's. I have a bachelor's in administration and a concentration in accounting.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
I've always had, I guess, a salary in that aspect, so work hourly.
Okay.
And when I figured out, I kind of liked the place, I had people who didn't have, say, a degree ahead of me. And I was always like, let me help you. Let me get on some work. And I didn't really know the backstory of them not having a degree until I talked to other CPAs who actually took certifications.
Okay.
So usually I would get hired.
Okay.
And within 3 months, they changed management, because that's what, corporate likes to do.
Right.
And the person who hired me, that's 3 pay grades above the person who's my immediate supervisor, would come in, and then they have a problem like, oh no, Diamond, I think we should change it up, or we should, do something else, or, we want a full-time person, because in school I was a part-time employee.
Okay.
So until I couldn't commit, that was a lot of people's excuses.
Right.
As to why
you couldn't do it. And I think that's kind of the misconception. So with the chapter part of your life, I think the understanding is that once I finish college, I may or may not move right into a position, and even if I do, it may not look like what you always think. And I went to college, I just didn't finish.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been an entrepreneur, just naturally an entrepreneur. So when I did work in corporate America, it was like I wasn't fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so I was doing it, but I was doing it in the back of my mind thinking, it's got to be something. Like, I can't keep coming in here, y'all clocking me. That's not me. So my phase, I guess you would say, of life for me now is, how do I take my money, maximize it, but my time, like,
Yes.
oh my, like, if somebody told me I have to be somewhere at a certain time, like, I can't do it. Get somebody else to do it, because I'm not doing it. I need to be where I could just be like doing whatever I want to do, but my money still
Yes.
is coming in. And so I think understanding that early as an entrepreneur, that you needed a side hustle,
Mhm.
because a lot of people think corporate America is going to be it,
Right.
and it may not be. So on the real estate side, when we met,
Mhm.
how is that managing? Like, how are you maneuvering it?
So maneuvering it, as an accountant, I feel like I'm an auditor, so I actually have more flexibility in auditing than anything else. So if you're doing mundane accounting, you might not have the flexibility that I have, but I did just switch roles. I was just telling you that I'm earning my money now.
You working for real?
Yeah, I'm working for real. Like, they have me busy. And the end of the year coming up.
Okay, yeah,
So-
which is fiscal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is, it's actually not as bad. So long as you have your schedule, you need to really know what you're doing. I would say, know the role that you have in corporate, what's your duties, and how to get your work done fast.
Okay.
But I kind of work my clients in the real estate around
Your
my schedule.
Okay.
So I'm off like every other Monday. I do some
okay.
showings.
Okay.
You know, and I can always say I'm off every Monday if I want to change it to like a 4-10 situation.
That's not
But
bad.
yeah, and I do my little showings on, Saturday, Sunday, and then we submit it on Monday, and hopefully, so hopefully they get it.
Okay.
But yeah, the balancing act isn't too bad because I only accept like 2 or 3 clients, and you taught me how to vet, so I vet them real good now.
Now you listen.
Yeah,
Okay,
nobody's
toot, toot.
stressing me.
That's my horn. Toot, 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 toot. Okay, so I'm glad to know that, because for a lot of people, especially millennials, the different phases and chapters, and you get to this phase thinking this is gonna work this way, only to find out. And for me, the side hustle is just like a beautiful thing when you can put those two together, and then eventually at some point when you can move to the phase of I'm strictly an entrepreneur, if that's something you ever decide to do. But even at this phase, would you say that you would want to continue like just doing both things, or do you think at some point you want to just be like one or the other?
At some point, I definitely do want to be one or the other. So I have been looking and making my money really work for me. So the corporate job does give you that stability and that steady income to actually save.
Right.
So I've been doing a lot of saving, moving my stocks,
Okay.
moving a lot of different things.
That's
And then, the extra money that comes in from real estate when I'm not traveling.
Okay.
will
Yeah,
do-
because you always somewhere.
So when I do something with that, I'm
Okay.
absolutely trying to go into new ventures. I'm trying to invest in other people who are actually doing the investing in this real estate.
Right.
Because a lot of the market now is a lot of investors in the market.
Right.
So if I can help you, help me
Make some money.
make some money.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I commend you for being able to do it, because I just never was able to, like, I'm an all-in kind of person. So if I'm doing something, I'm like 100% focused, like laser focused. And I could not imagine trying to do both. Like, I don't. So I commend you for being able to do it, because for me, I would have been like, wait a minute, and I'm very anal about scheduling, but I would have been like, oh, I can't show you this. I got a project due. So the fact that you can make it happen, I think is a good thing, and that you're enjoying this phase of your life. Traveling, because I think a lot of things with our culture is we don't know. We're just normally, I always say, surviving, right? Nobody's thinking, okay, I should be living. I should be living my best life. Going every chance I get. So the fact that you can do both, to me, is like a win. Like, you're winning on both sides. And so I commend you for being able to do it. And are you single?
I'm not single.
You're not single, not anymore. Okay.
Not anymore.
I was gonna say, so if you one day wanted to be married, that's another chapter. So the person's gonna have to understand that you got a lot. You're a boss chick, and you got a lot going on.
They know, and I think they already on boat. They try to help. So I
Oh,
like
that's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
Like, they're a person who tries to motivate you, or what can I help you with? Is it something that can make your life easier?
Really?
They'll even try to help me with the corporate job. I say, okay, hallelujah, help me, please.
Okay, so that's the best kind when you got somebody that wants to understands it and wants to support your dream. Okay, so Diamond, tell me a little bit about this chapter of your relationship, how you have kind of merged that into this phase of your life. So tell me about your relationship.
The merging has kind of come pretty seamlessly. So I like somebody who has something to do themselves.
Okay.
So, where they're not bothering me. Like, I like my space. I'm a person I like my space, but I actually didn't even have a lot of people who I had to, I call every day or they call me. So this one is it's very intentional.
Okay.
It's very something that they call you oh, I'm just checking on you, how your day, have you eaten today?
Oh, that's
so
sweet. Y'all hear that?
So I feel like the phase has come very seamlessly. I feel like even with praise has been more than I asked for.
Okay.
And within a relationship, he really actually gets me. I can be a little dramatic at times, but I feel like this person is someone who really compliments me well.
Okay.
So I would say, what kind of person would you say would compliment you well, or within your 20s and 30s, did you have any struggles with finding someone compatible?
Girl, we need a couple of episodes to talk about that kind of. So for me, I'll reverse it. So in my 20s, I was a party animal. I'm actually kind of trying to tone it down now, but I was a party animal. So dating for me, I actually was engaged to be married. Met this guy who I thought the sun and moon set with him. He was a bag of sawdust, girl.
No.
So I got past that, and then I met my children's father on my 30th birthday. I was in New Orleans and became serious, and from 30 up until the last 8 years I was married, and last 10 years I was married. And then he passed away. So for me, the first half of my life, I was still trying to figure it out. I was partying, I stopped going to college, working, made a bad decision to really make a lot of debt that I should have never done. So I ended up having to work 2 jobs, had to stop going to school. So for me, I think when you're in your 20s, like you said earlier, if you're gonna screw it up, that's when you do it. Because by the time you get to 30, you should be kind of putting it together, should start making sense. You should be looking at, okay, what am I gonna do so that by the time I'm 40, I'm not having to hustle like I'm doing at 30.
Right.
So the kind of man I think that would fit me now would have to be somebody who, he gotta be special. Cause I love my peace of mind, but he gotta have some coins in his pocket too. I like to do nice things. I like to buy nice things. I like to go really nice places. But and I don't like old men either. I can't stand an old funny dude. Like a couch potato. I'm not the cooking type. Don't ask me to cook. Let me cook when I get ready.
Right.
So I need somebody who can kind of just let me be me. You would have to just be able to say, don't ask her nothing, just let her do what she wants to do. But he gotta be able to have some money, and he has to be God-fearing.
Right.
I don't want no heathen. Okay. Excuse me, heathens. But I don't want a heathen.
Right.
So I just want to be able to just be free though. So he has to be that kind of guy. And he has to love my children too.
Of
because they're a big part of my life. But outside of that, I think I'm pretty low maintenance. But he just can't be old, like an old fuddy duddy. Yeah, no. That's not, that won't work. So I think if you've discovered somebody who's letting you be you at 30 or almost 30, that's ideal because you're still trying to maneuver. So if you were in a relationship and you were locked down and you couldn't still figure out who, that would be a no-go. Yeah, that would be a no-go. Yeah.
Up until now, as to date, as we like to call it in accounting, as of date, what would you say from all the chapters of life which you have? What would be your takeaway?
So my biggest takeaway is savor every experience, every moment, every opportunity. that you have. Never take anything for granted, never take people for granted, and never ever let any person or anything take you away from you being your own best self. Because when you do get in relationships or eventually get married, that's the other thing that we as women are guilty of. You lose yourself and you just become engulfed in a relationship, and so now you're like, oh, I just eat, breathe and sleep by man. So my biggest takeaway is never put yourself in a position where you're losing yourself. You know, love yourself, girls. Love yourself, period. So those different phases, I always say enjoy them while you have them. Those chapters will look different. Like every 5 to 10 years, you'll be like, I want to do something different. What's happening with me now? And so I always love a smart Black woman, because you know we just have to boss this thing up whenever we can. So I love that, and I love the fact that you're managing it, because sometimes people get overwhelmed with trying to do both, and you have a partner that, you know, supports what you have going on. So that is a good thing. So is there anything you want to share with the audience? Because we, you know, we love a good story. We love some tidbits. I always like to give people nuggets. Anything you want to give anybody that's you would help them kind of understand maneuvering at this phase of life?
So I would say every 10-year mark, there's a time to reevaluate your life.
Okay.
So I'm coming up on a 10-year mark.
You about to be 30?
And in 365 days.
What?
Another 365. So I'm turning 29. So
why? I did not know. Oh, girl. Okay.
I'm turning 29.
Okay.
But you know, COVID don't count, so I'm like technically 27.
Yeah, you got a few years. Hold on.
Yeah, got a few years.
Yeah,
but
hold on.
yeah, I would just say definitely reevaluate yourself, and when the next chapter comes up in your life, you don't want to be seeing the same things that was happening when you was 21, 22, 23.
Right. Absolutely.
Like the same mistakes that you were making, you shouldn't be making them this next
phase.
Go around, this next phase in your life. Each
Okay.
phase should be a learning lesson. You should self-reflect, to me, every 3 months. Every 3 months, you should look over, like, say, what have I accomplished this
Okay,
year?
I love that.
And see what is holding you back, what is hindering you. If you need to, I've seen people now putting their phones in cages. If you are addicted to social media, you cannot focus. Find you a cage for your phone.
Wow.
Because if it's stopping you from moving forward in your goals, anything that's hindering you, I would highly suggest reevaluating that and really honing in on that, because those things, it could be people attached to you. It could be some people you need to let go. But I would say self-reflection would be my tidbit for you all.
So that's a good one. So did y'all take that nugget? So self-reflection, letting go what you need to let go. And I shared this with someone yesterday. One of the easier things for me is I will cut a person, a thing, a place off. Don't lose any sleep. Okay, this is not working. Done. Okay, I'm free. No problem. But some people can't do it. So the fact that if you're saying maybe every 3 months, look at it, every 6 months, however you need to make it happen, y'all need to make it happen. Y'all need to find a way to get to your best self. The purpose of this podcast is to help us to become better human beings, to look at life experiences and see what can we take away from it, what are we experiencing that we can do different, and just sharing different perspectives. Because to have a young woman that's not quite 30 sharing something that she's showing, okay, no, not that she didn't have to reevaluate, but she wasn't afraid to do it. She had the courage to say, hey, let me see what I need to do to move different. I love that. I like, I'm all here for those kind of stories. So I just want to say, there you have it. That is this week's episode. I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and share your social media site with us. How do we reach you socially?
You can reach me at the Realtor Diamond Willmaker or Vivala_Diamond. So I have 2 handles on Instagram. That's where you'll find me.
Okay, and remember on YouTube to like, share, and subscribe, and to stay connected with me. You can reach me on Instagram and TikTok. And remember, I love you without judgment. See you next time.
See you next time.